So I was thinking that this time we could start with a practice that Lama Zopa Rinpoche taught us in the past, and it involves the breathing, using the breath, but he calls it a purification practice. So it's very simple. You basically breathe in white light, thinking that it represents all the good energy of the Buddhas, enlightened beings, all the good energy in the universe. If you imagine it coming in and filling you and purifying all your disturbing thoughts and emotions, negative karma, and so on. And then when you exhale, you imagine breathing out kind of like smoke or pollution. And that is the negative energy that we want to get rid of, like disturbing thoughts, anger, irritation, anxiety, and so on. And also karma, the imprints of actions that we did in the past that were unwise and unskillful. So all the things we want to kind of clear away to be able to make progress in our spiritual practice. So we imagine breathing that out. And so you alternate breathing in the white and breathing out the smoke. And this practice can be used at the beginning of a session of meditation to help you to calm down and get centered, get settled, and get into a good state of body and mind before you do other practices, other meditations. But it could also be used as a practice on its own. I once met somebody who just loved this practice, and he would like do it for the whole session. I don't know how long he spent, but anyway, he found it kind of more beneficial and meaningful than just watching the breath coming in and going out. So I thought that, I'll guide you through this practice. And then after a few minutes of doing it, I will tell you that you can continue doing that practice if you wish to, breathing in the white light, breathing out smoke. Or if you want to go back to the normal practice of breathing meditation that we've learned in the last couple of weeks, then you can do that. Just watching the breath coming in and going out and counting. If you find it helpful, as I mentioned before, counting is an option. It's not required, but many people find it helpful. And so if you want, you can do the counting. And so we'll just continue like that for maybe 10 or 15 more minutes. And then I have some things to share with you just about meditation in general. And we'll finish up with some advice for regular practice and see if there's any final questions, since this is the last session of this series of talks. Okay, so we start as usual by sitting in a position that is comfortable but also conducive for meditation. And what that means is keeping your back straight. So whether you're sitting in a chair or on the floor or whatever, it's really helpful to sit up straight, not slouch forward or lean backwards against the back of the chair, but try to keep your back straight. Now, some people may have difficulty doing that. If you have some issues with your back and you're not able to straighten up, then you just do the best you can and don't worry about it. But keeping the back straight really helps us to have a mind that is more awake and alert and able to focus, concentrate. Other than the back being straight, it's important to let the body be as relaxed as possible. So I'll guide you through a brief relaxation, going kind of a body scan from the top of the head down, and relaxing any tension you find anywhere in your body. Okay. So first, feel the top of your head. And if you notice any tension there, let it go, release it. So let the top of your head be completely relaxed, free of tension. And then let your awareness move down into your forehead. Feel your forehead, let it relax. Let go of any worry lines you may have in your forehead. Let it be smooth and relaxed. Then feel your eyes and relax the muscles around and behind your eyes. And let the rest of your face relax. We have a lot of muscles in our face that work when we talk and make expressions. So let all those muscles relax. But you might want to keep a smile on your lips. That can help your mind to be more relaxed and more joyful about what we're doing. Also relax your jaw and mouth. If you can, keep the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your upper teeth. That helps to reduce the need to swallow. And then feel the sides of your head, right and left sides, and let those relax as well. Then relax the back of your head. And then see if you can go inside of your head with your awareness. And relax the inside of your head, your brain, all the neurons in your brain, all the nerves, muscles. Let your brain be completely relaxed. We don't need to be thinking about other things right now, just being in the present, being aware of our body and this practice that we're doing. So try to let the whole of your head, the outside as well as the inside, be as relaxed as possible, free of tension. And then let your awareness move down into your neck and throat. Relax any tightness or tension you might find there. Continue to move down with your awareness into your shoulders and the upper part of your back. Let go of any tension in your shoulder blades, shoulder muscles. You can imagine the tension melting, flowing away, disappearing. And let the awareness continue moving down through your back, the middle part of your back, relaxing, letting go of tension you may have there. And then the lower part of your back. And then move your awareness to the front part of your body, starting with your chest. Relax your chest and the organs inside the chest, your lungs, your heart. And let your awareness continue moving down through the front of your body, through your torso, relaxing all the internal organs, your stomach, intestines, liver, kidneys, and all the muscles in those areas. We'll go all the way down to your pelvic area. Relax that area as well, both in the front and the back, your buttocks, muscles in the buttocks, your hips, your joints. And then move your awareness down into your legs and relax first the upper parts of the legs, the thighs. Relax your knees. Relax the lower parts of your legs, calves, calf muscles. And then relax your ankles and feet all the way down to the toes. Now relax your arms. Start with your right arm. Move your awareness to the top of the right arm and then relax your upper arm, all the muscles there. And then relax the lower part of your arm. Relax your wrist and hand and fingers. And then do the same with your left arm. Relax the upper part of the left arm. And the lower part. and the wrist, hand, and fingers. So we've gone through the body quickly, doing our best to relax any tension. So try to keep your body as free of tension as possible for the remainder of the time that we're meditating. And allow your breathing to flow in and out in a natural way, not forcing it or controlling it, just allowing your body to breathe as it normally does. And as a motivation for this practice, you can think, I'm doing this practice to make myself a better person, more happy, more loving, more compassionate, better able to help others. So may this meditation help me and also be helpful to others. And then for the purification practice, be aware of the breath coming in and going out at the nostrils. This is the place where the air, the breath enters and leaves the body. It's kind of like the gateway, the doorway of our body. And imagine that as you breathe in with your inhalation of breath, you take in pure and blissful light, white in color, the color of purity. And this light represents all the good energy and all the positive qualities that exist in the universe. If you can accept that there are enlightened beings, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, you can think that the light is their qualities, their wisdom, their compassion, their love, their patience, their generosity. So all the good qualities they have developed in their mind. So those qualities take the form of light, and you're breathing that in. And imagine that it comes into you and goes to all the parts of your body. Filling your body completely. You can imagine it going down to even the tiny particles of your body, cells, molecules, atoms, and so on. And think that this light coming in and filling you up has the function of healing you. Whatever pain, whatever problems you may have, both in your body, like sickness or injuries or any kind of physical problems. So those are getting healed. And it also heals the problems in our mind. If we have anything we're upset about, unhappy about, worried, anxious, angry, and so on. So all that kind of disturbing thoughts and emotions that may exist in our mind, imagine those getting healed as well, dissolving. disappearing. So just spend a little bit of time doing that. Imagine the light coming in with each breath, filling you and healing your body and mind. Your mind and body are becoming more and more clear and relaxed and blissful. So continue this visualization of light coming in with each breath, each inhalation of the breath. And now, with each exhalation of the breath, imagine sending out dark smoke or pollution, and that goes out of your body. That represents negative energy, any problems you may have, physical pain, illness, discomfort, as well as disturbances in your mind, negative thoughts, painful emotions, and so on. Anything that makes you unhappy or disturbed. So imagine all those things going out of you with the breath, and they just disappear in space. Once they go out, they vanish, become non-existent. You don't have to worry about polluting the environment with your negative energy. Imagine it just vanishes. So see if you can continue doing that with each breath, breathing in the white light, the healing energy, breathing out dark smoke or fog, pollution, the things you want to free yourself from. Do that for a few minutes. So be meditating for another 8 minutes or so, And you can choose to continue doing this visualization, a purification practice, breathing in light, breathing out smoke. Or if you wish, you can just do the usual meditation on the breath that we've learned before, simply being aware of the breath coming in and going out, keeping your mind focused on that, and counting your breaths if you find that helpful to keep your mind focused. The important thing is just be aware of what your mind is doing, and if it's not observing the breath, if it's gone elsewhere, doing something else, then disengage from that and bring it back to the breath. And now to conclude the meditation, feel confident that you have created some positive energy, what we call merit in Buddhism. This is the cause of happiness, good experiences, spiritual growth. So just trying to meditate, even if we find it difficult, we feel like we don't do it very well, but just trying to meditate is a good thing. We do create positive energy. And when we finish the meditation, it's good to share this positive energy with others, with all beings, if possible. So you can just think to yourself, may the positive energy, the merit of this meditation be shared by all living beings. May it help everyone everywhere find genuine peace and happiness, generate positive states like love, compassion, and wisdom. And may they get closer to awakening, enlightenment, their real potential. Okay, so as I mentioned, that meditation, that practice of purification, breathing in light, breathing out negative energy, is something you could use at the beginning of any session of meditation for just a couple of minutes. It can help you to get into a better state of body and mind before you do your other practice. Or you could use it as a practice on its own and just continue doing that as long as you wish. But I can't remember whether or not I mentioned this already. I may have, but excuse me for repeating myself. But generally in our tradition, we are advised to have 4 kind of steps in our practice whenever we sit down to meditate. There's these 4 steps, 4 components, you might say. First is sitting down in a good position for meditation, making yourself comfortable. And then the second is generating a positive motivation, thinking about why you're sitting there and trying to expand your awareness to think of others and not just yourself, and feel the wish to be of benefit to others. And even to just say to yourself some simple phrase like, may this meditation be beneficial for everyone, for all beings, something like that. So that makes it very beneficial. And then do the actual practice, whatever practice you've decided to do, or however long you've decided to do it. It's kind of the main body of your session. And then at the end, when you finish, do a dedication, like we just did. Dedicate the merit, the positive energy to others, to the world, bringing about peace and happiness and so on. I think I did mention that last time, but yeah, it doesn't hurt to hear things again. And I sent Anne a file with some advice on the practice of Shamatha. Did you receive that, Anne? I sent it to you earlier today.
Yes, I received it this morning. I haven't sent it out yet, but I'll send it out to everybody who's attended, even if they've only come to one session.
Yeah, it's because Anne asked me to talk about shamatha and advice on how to do shamatha practice. And so that's just a short kind of a summary of the main points of shamatha practice to get going. In Tibetan Buddhism, shamatha is actually kind of an advanced practice, although it is sometimes taught to beginners. But in the Lam Rim, these are the books about the stages of the path to enlightenment. Shamatha is only explained towards the end, quite far along, and there's a lot of other meditations taught before that, just to make sure we know why we do shamatha practice. What is the reason? What is the purpose? And it's also not easy. It's not easy to concentrate our mind. That's the real purpose of shamatha, is to train our mind to stay on one single object, like the breath, for longer and longer periods of time. And eventually you can do that for hours without distraction or sleepiness or anything. But that's hard. It takes a lot of time and energy. And even I know some people who attempted it, like gone into retreat and just focused on that practice all day long, day after day, month after month, and so on. And they got better, of course. Their concentration did improve, but they weren't able to actually achieve the full experience of shamatha. But whatever effort we put into trying to concentrate our mind, trying to keep our mind focused, is beneficial, and it will probably bring a lot of benefit in our daily life. But there are other practices of meditation, other types of meditation, and you might be familiar with the book that I wrote called How to Meditate, which contains some of the different practices found in the Tibetan tradition. But there's also lots of other books about meditation by other teachers from other traditions. So, and of course, courses and videos and so on. Lots of material available nowadays about meditation. So feel free to explore and, try different methods and see which feels best for you. Because we're all different. Everyone is different. And just because your friend or your partner meditates in a certain way, that doesn't necessarily mean that type of meditation is right for you. Okay, so if it doesn't feel right, you try it for a while, doesn't feel right, then look around, check out what else is available, and hopefully you will find a tradition and a teacher that you do feel connected with. It does feel right for you. It is best, it is recommended that when we practice meditation, we do so under the guidance of a teacher. And that's because there are things that we can do wrong, mistakes that we can make. And if we don't have a teacher to turn to for help, then we may not know what to do. We might even continue going in that mistaken direction, continue making mistakes, and end up not getting much benefit out of meditation. So it is best to have a teacher, but it's also important to choose teachers carefully and, don't just jump into taking someone as a teacher without getting to know them and observing how they behave in different situations to make sure that they really are authentic and reliable, and they're going to help you and not harm you. Because unfortunately, you may have heard, there are some teachers who don't practice ethics. They don't have very good ethical conduct, and they sometimes abuse their students. And so we really want to avoid teachers like that. And so, important to take your time, get to know a teacher, and really be sure that they do have the right qualities to be a spiritual teacher you can rely on. So I wanted to go through some common problems that we experience in meditation and what to do when we encounter them. I may have talked about some of these earlier, but again, it doesn't necessarily hurt to hear them again. So probably for many of us Western people, the number one problem is being distracted, just not being able to keep our mind focused on what we're trying to focus on, like the breath. Mind keeps wandering away and thinking about other things, going to the past and thinking about previous experiences, memories come up, or thinking about the future, plans you have for what you're going to do in the future. Or we think about people we know, wondering what's going on with them, how are they doing, what should I do when I meet them next, and so on and so forth. So our mind can come up with all kinds of activities, mental activities that take us away from our meditation object. Yeah. So this is something we need to look out for, because especially if we want to attain shamatha, that involves training our mind to stay focused on just one thing at a time and not wandering here and there. And so there's really no magic solution for distraction except to keep bringing the mind back to the object of meditation whenever it wanders away. We have to have, there's two mental factors that are very important in this practice. One is called mindfulness. And mindfulness in our tradition mainly means remembering the meditation object. The word for mindfulness literally means remember or memory. And so mindfulness is being able to remember the object that we're supposed to be meditating on. So what happens is, in the beginning of our meditation session, we are watching the breath coming in, going out, and we might be able to do that for a little while, maybe a few minutes. But then, before we know it, we're thinking about, what to cook for dinner, or some conversation we had earlier today. So we're no longer paying attention to the breath. That means we have forgotten the breath. We forgot. we forgot the breath. We forgot we're supposed to watch the breath. So that indicates a loss of mindfulness. Yeah? Mindfulness means we remember our object of meditation. And when mindfulness goes, then we forget it. Okay? So, but we can improve our mindfulness. We can train our mindfulness. We can increase it and be able to remember the object of meditation for longer and longer periods of time. It's good at the beginning of a session to really make a strong determination to say to yourself, I'm going to keep my mind focused on the breath or whatever your meditation object is, and keep bringing it back whenever it wanders away. So making that kind of determination in the beginning can help you to have stronger mindfulness for longer periods of time. And then there's another mental factor involved in meditation, and that's called, sometimes it's translated as vigilance or as introspection or introspective awareness. So that is a mental factor that they compare it to a spy, or maybe a better word would be the security guard in a bank or in an office building, right? So there's often a person who's there with a uniform, and their job is to keep an eye out for trouble. Because, sometimes people come in with a weapon, or maybe they're drunk, or they're, just angry and they're there to cause trouble. So the job of the security guard is to keep an eye out for people like that, and then take care of them. Don't let them carry out their plans to cause trouble. Okay, so we have within our mind a similar a mental factor that it's like that. It's sort of watches, it sort of scans our mind and what is going on in our mind, and it's able to detect when our mind is doing something it shouldn't be doing, thinking about something that we shouldn't be thinking about, and so on. And so, and then when it does notice a mistake, an error, not practicing properly, or maybe, even worse than that, maybe anger comes up, some really negative, disturbing state of mind comes up, like anger. So introspective awareness notices that and is able to take care of it, like let it go or apply some antidote so that your mind doesn't go down that road of getting more and more and more angry. So, so those two are really important factors, mindfulness and introspection. We do have them already. They operate in our daily life. For example, when driving, if you drive, you have to have mindfulness that pays attention to what you're doing, looking at the road in front of you, looking behind you, on either side, looking at the speedometer, to make sure you drive correctly. And so you need to keep mind, you need to be very mindful when you're driving a car, because otherwise you could get into an accident, hurt yourself, hurt other people, and so on. And then introspective alertness in that situation would be, let's say we start speeding, going over the speed limit. And so introspective alertness would, notice that that's happened and then say, oh, okay, I have to stop, or slow down, not stop, but, take your foot off the gas pedal and slow down. Yeah, or maybe you're veering out of your lane and into the side lane and so on. Okay, so we already have those mental factors in our daily life that sort of keep us focused on what we should be doing and, the proper way of doing things, and then being alert to when we're going off track, we're doing things incorrectly, and then getting ourselves back on track. And so we need to bring those into our meditation as well, so that we can keep our mind focused on the object of our meditation and bring it back whenever it wanders away. So that's one of the main problems that we have to deal with for meditation, distraction. Another one is sometimes it's called dullness or sinking or laxity, and there's very varying degrees of that. One is just a little bit of a feeling of heaviness, darkness, dullness. Like, if you try to meditate after eating a big meal, you'll probably experience this very clearly. Right? I don't know if you've ever tried that. They usually recommend, leaving some time after a meal before you try to meditate. Because otherwise, if you try to meditate right after eating, then your mind will become like heavy, and pretty soon you'll be falling asleep. You can even be nodding off while you're sitting there on your meditation. Has that ever happened to you? You ever had that experience? Yes. Okay, so sleepiness is the sort of extreme of that, when you're actually about to fall asleep. But even before that happens, the mind being just in this kind of dull state, like lacking energy, lacking brightness, lacking vividness in your practice. So that's dullness. It's kind of a more subtle problem than distraction, but it is still a problem. It is an obstacle to attaining shamatha, but also to attaining any of the results that we can attain through meditation. So ideally, our state of mind should be kind of alert and bright and clear, not heavy and dark and sleepy. So if you do encounter that problem when you're meditating, there's a few things you can do. One is to make sure you're sitting up straight, because sometimes, our body can start, even if we start off straight, after a while we can start to slouch. like this. So sitting up straight can kind of bring up your energy, help you wake up. Another thing is opening the eyes, because if we close our eyes completely when we meditate, that's almost like an invitation to go to sleep. You know, it's like bedtime. And that's why they say that in our tradition, it's good to not close the eyes completely, but leave them open a little bit. Have your gaze looking down, and that way there's some light coming in, and that can help you to stay awake. And it's kind of awkward in the beginning. You might find it difficult to do that in the beginning, but it's good to learn to do that, because it really is a good antidote to sleepiness. And I find myself sometimes having them open just a little bit isn't enough. I need to open them more. And then I just stare at some point in front of me. I don't let my gaze go around and look at things, but just stare at one point. And that does help to counteract sleepiness and dullness. And in our tradition, they also say you can visualize light. Imagine your body filled with light. It's like turning on the light wakes us up, right? So if we imagine ourselves filled with light, that can overcome sleepiness and dullness. So those are the two main problems that we can encounter, especially in the practice of shamatha, single-pointed concentration. So it's good to be on the lookout for them and know how to deal with them when they occur. And then other things that people often experience when they practice meditation are pain. Yeah. So what some teachers advise, and I think this is a good idea, is when we feel some pain or discomfort in our body, and we may feel the impulse to move, to change our position to something else, to get rid of that pain. So when that impulse comes the first time, ignore it. Don't follow it. Yeah, so you may feel discomfort and you want to move. Don't do it. Just keep sitting still. And the pain might go away. The discomfort might go away. You might not need to move. But then later it may come again, the discomfort and the impulse to move. So again, the second time, don't move. Don't change your position. Just keep sitting there. And again, it might go away. It might disappear. But if it doesn't and it comes back again, the third time you have that impulse to move, to get a more comfortable position, get rid of the pain, then the third time, then you can move. Then you can change your position. So I think this is a really good advice, because normally our normal experience, or at least I think most people, as soon as we feel uncomfortable, we move. Yeah, we change our position. So that's like a habit that we have. We can't like put up with even a little bit of discomfort without moving. But then when you're trying to practice meditation, if you're constantly moving, your body is constantly moving, then it's hard to keep your mind still, right? If our body isn't still, it's difficult to keep the mind still. And so the more still we can keep our body, then the more still we'll be able to keep our mind. And so that's why I think it's good advice to don't move every time you feel like it. Every time there's this impulse to move and change your position. Wait till the third time. And that way you learn a little bit of discipline. You'll be able to sit still longer. And the discomfort might even go away and you won't need to move. But, and you may have heard in some traditions, like I think in the Zen tradition, often the teachers are really strict and they tell you don't move at all. And you may even get whacked on your shoulders if you move. Well, my teachers in the Tibetan tradition, they're not like that. They say it's okay to move. You don't have to sit perfectly still like a statue. You can move. But if you do move, try to do so quietly and slowly, not in a jerky way. And especially if you're in a group of people, if you move in a way that makes noise, then you would disturb other people. So be aware, be considerate of the other people around you, and move just as much as you need to, and do it in a quiet way and as little as possible. So try to learn to sit still as much as you can. Then another thing that sometimes happens, this doesn't happen to everybody, but it does happen to some people, so it's good to be aware of it. And that is that people sometimes have strange experiences when they meditate. And these could be something physical. They may have strange sensations in their body. They may even feel, people come to me sometimes and tell me about these experiences. They sometimes feel as if they're floating off the floor or floating off their seat. And they open their eyes and, they're not. Yeah. So it's just kind of a hallucination where they feel their bodies moving one way or the other, and they open their eyes and nothing's happening. And then they may worry, what's going on? What's happening here? Well, it seems that this is actually normal. And Alan Wallace, who's done a lot of Shamatha practice, he says that this can happen because keeping our bodies still and trying to keep our mind still is unusual. Yeah, it's not what we normally do. We're normally very busy and moving all the time. So what we're doing in meditation is something unusual. And so that can cause some disruption or some changes in our body and mind that lead to these unusual experiences. And so it's kind of normal, and we shouldn't worry about it. We shouldn't get scared or wonder what's wrong with us. But just ignore it. That's the best thing to do, is just notice it and ignore it. These things can also happen in our mind. We might have strange thoughts coming up that we never had before, or images appearing. So again, this does happen, and if it happens to you, don't worry, don't feel scared, don't feel like you're going nuts. Just notice it and go back to your object of meditation, back to the breath or whatever you're meditating on. And if you just ignore it, it should go away. It should disappear. It's not, you're not feeding it. You're not giving it fuel. But if that doesn't happen, if it continues, then it would be good to check with a teacher or someone more experienced in meditation. Ask their advice. But I just want to emphasize that you shouldn't worry or get upset or think you should stop meditating. But also, it's not good to get excited. Yeah, that's another thing that can sometimes happen, that the experience might be something really nice, like a really blissful feeling or a really beautiful vision in your mind. And people can sometimes get very excited about that and think, wow, I'm getting a realization, or Buddha is coming to see me and talk to me, or something like that. And then they get very excited, maybe have attachment, get attached to that experience, and then think about, oh, I'm going to put this on my Facebook account, tell everybody about it. So that becomes a big distraction. So yeah, don't go down that route. It's just a phenomena, impermanent phenomena that happens because of whatever causes and conditions, and it's not going to last. and you shouldn't get excited about it. Just let it go. That's the best thing. So, yeah, different things can happen to us when we're meditating, both on the physical level and the mental level. And what I've heard from all teachers and all traditions is just notice it and let it go. Try not to react emotionally. It's not easy, especially if it's a really nice experience. Yeah, and very easy to get attached and excited. But doing that doesn't help. It just kind of takes you away from the real purpose of meditation. What we're trying to do in our meditation is transform our mind. And that reminds me, yeah, something Lama Yeshe once said that I like to share with people. A student asked, it was a like a public teaching and question and answer session, and a student asked, how do we know if we're meditating correctly? How do we know if we're going in the right direction in our practice, in our meditation? That's a really good question. And I loved his answer. He said, if you can see that you're becoming a nicer person, you're more kind, more patient, you're getting along better with people, then that shows you're meditating correctly. Your meditation is going in the right direction. On the other hand, if you're getting more impatient, unkind, and having problems in your relationships with other people, then something is wrong. You're not doing things right. And I really like that answer because it shows that, yeah, the purpose of meditation isn't to have the kind of fantastic experiences, visions, bliss, traveling out of our body. I mean, some people do think that way, that's what they're looking for, that's what they want to attain. But that's not the point in Buddhism anyway. The real point is to transform ourselves, to become a nicer person, kinder, more patient, more compassionate, more wise, better able to help others, get along with others, and so on. So those are the things we should be looking for. But that doesn't mean right away, immediately, those things are going to happen. It takes time. It does take time. But I think those are, yeah, I love that answer. So, so that's something you can keep in mind to check for yourself. Are there any questions that you have you'd like to ask?
Yep, Jeffrey's got one.
I was thinking about distractions, such as like you get an itch, or you get suddenly you get an itch in your eye, and so you feel the need to scratch it.
Yeah, that's hard. Well, you could do what I mentioned before, like don't scratch it immediately. Just sit with it for a while and it might go away by itself, yeah, without having to itch it. So just give it a bit of time. And if it doesn't, you sat with it for a while and it's still itchy, then it's okay to, yeah, just move your finger and itch it a little bit. But try not to make, big movements, and just try to keep your movements subtle and to the minimum, as little as possible.
Thank you.
But yeah, like I say, in our tradition, our teachers, my teachers anyway, have said, yeah, it is okay to move. And yeah, if you need to itch something, change your position, that is okay. But just try to do it with awareness, with mindfulness.
I've got just on that topic of not scratching the itch or moving when you're tempted. I know you mentioned Alan Wallace, and I listen quite a bit to his teachings on shamatha, and he recommends lying down if sitting and practicing is a bit uncomfortable. He's quite happy for practitioners to lie down when they're doing shamatha.
Yeah, that's one thing I haven't mentioned. In the Tibetan tradition, and most Buddhist traditions, they do describe the meditation posture as sitting. But that doesn't work for everybody. And so yeah, you can find different sitting positions that work for you. But even if sitting is painful, if it's too painful, too uncomfortable when sitting, it is okay. It's actually not traditional. I haven't encountered this from Tibetan lamas, but Alan Wallace, yeah, I think he has some students who have a lot of pain in their bodies, and it's just too uncomfortable to meditate sitting, and so he teaches them lying down. I mean, the Buddha he did say that we can practice mindfulness in all positions of the body, sitting, standing, lying down, walking, and so on. So you can. But the tricky thing with lying down is being able to stay awake. Yeah. So you have to learn how to meditate in a prone position. Is that what they call it? Or supine, I think he calls it. And still, huh?
He uses the term shavasana, which is a yoga, a term in yoga, shavasana, sort of the corpse position. That's what
Okay. Yeah. And does he give advice on how to avoid falling asleep?
Well, yeah, just to basically, if you're going to practice in that position, don't associate it with napping. So when you're in that position, try not to nap ever in that position. So there's never that association, which,
Yeah. So you can try different positions. I met one woman who told me that the only position in which she could meditate was standing up. Because even lying down, she had some issue with her back, and even lying down was painful. So sitting was painful, lying down was painful. The only position that wasn't so painful was standing up. So she would do standing meditation, which is fine. Yeah. And walking. There's walking meditation that's practiced a lot in the Theravada tradition. So I even heard a story of a practitioner of that somewhere in Asia who attained some realization in the middle of walking meditation. So while doing walking meditation, if you're really focused, really concentrated, then even in that position, you can gain realizations. So, yeah, so there are different options for how you place your body when you meditate. And I wanted to just mention a few other things, like for practice. If you do want to continue practicing, it's really best if you can practice regularly. Every day would be best if you can. If you can't manage every day, then at least a few times a week. But don't let long periods of time go by without doing any practice. Because if you do that, then it's almost like you have to start over from the beginning. Yeah. Whereas if you practice every day, even a little bit, it doesn't have to be a long period of time, but even a little bit every day, you build up this momentum, and your mind just gets more and more familiar with the practice, and it just gets better and better. And the best time, well, that varies from one person to another. Usually they say it's best to do it in the morning, early morning. It's quieter, and we're more refreshed after sleeping, provided we did sleep well. Then we wake up feeling refreshed. And our mind is usually more clear in the morning. At the end of the day, you have a lot more thoughts running around in your mind, but early morning is usually a more quiet state of mind. And also the environment is more quiet. There's less noise in the environment. If you can get up early, like meditators often get up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. That's really quiet. So you usually have an easier time meditating then. And it's also a good way to start your day. You can start your day with meditation, get yourself into a good state of mind before you go to work or start dealing with the world. Then things will probably go better for you. But it is okay to meditate at other times as well. You can actually meditate anytime that's convenient and works for you. And it's also good to have a place where you meditate in your home. If you have a whole room you can use for meditation, that's really good. Really, save that room for meditation. Or if you can't have a whole room for that, at least have a space, a place where you can have your meditation seat. And you can have some objects like on a shelf to remind you of the practice, like an image of the Buddha, if that helps, or teachers that inspire you. Have some little offerings, candle, flowers. So have a little space where you practice. And if you keep practicing in the same place again and again, I think a certain energy builds up there, so that every time you go and sit in that place, it'll be easier to get into a meditative state of mind. But it's also okay to meditate anywhere. You can meditate in your office or on the bus or in a park. Yeah. And start with short sessions. That's, don't start with really long sessions of meditation. Start with short ones, even 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then you can gradually build up and have longer sessions. And one thing, too, to look out for is expectations. Lama Yeshe used to say to us, don't have any expectations when you meditate. So expectations is like kind of in the back of our mind. We're hoping that we'll get some kind of experience. And I mean, for some people, they want visions, they want bliss, they want fantastic experiences. But even if you don't want that, I think we just want to have a good experience in meditation. We want to be able to, keep our mind calm and focused on our object and not crazy here and there and so on. So, of course, it's natural to want our meditation to go well, but just wanting it to go well won't make it happen. There are other factors involved, other causes and conditions, like our health, the state of our health, our energy, maybe even things outside of ourselves, external conditions could also affect us. And our karma, many, many different things can affect our mind and our experiences when we practice meditation. And so we don't have complete control over all these factors, all these causes and conditions. And, what can often happen is maybe one day you meditate and your mind is really calm and clear. You're able to stay focused on your object and not get distracted. And then you end thinking, wow, that was a really good meditation. And then it's easy to think, I want this experience to keep happening again and again and again. Like every day it's going to be like this. That's one example of an expectation. And I know because I've been there. I've had that experience. But then the next day when you sit down to meditate, your mind might be crazy. You can't sit still. And you're just kind of struggling to keep your mind on your meditation object. And then you think, what happened? Yesterday it was so good, and today it's so bad. What's going on? And you might, it can be very confusing. Well, this is actually quite normal. It's normal that each time we sit down and meditate, we can have different experiences. Just because one day it's good doesn't mean it's going to be good every day. So the best attitude to have is to just have an attitude of openness and acceptance of whatever is happening. Whether your mind is calm or it's restless and crazy, whether your body is comfortable sitting there on your meditation cushion or you're uncomfortable and restless, you can't sit still. So just be with whatever is happening and accept it and make the best of it. And know that just trying just making the effort to sit and practice meditation and keep your mind focused, that itself is meditation. That itself is a good thing to do. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? And so try not to be attached to what seems like a good experience and then get upset about what seems like a bad experience. But just be accepting of whatever is happening, whatever experience you're having in meditation. In fact, some teachers say that what can seem like a bad meditation, like when we're restless, physically uncomfortable, our mind is distracted, actually those sessions could be the best in the long run because we have to work harder. Yeah, we have to learn how to deal with those difficulties. And so, in a way, they help us to grow. They help us to get more mature in our practice of meditation. When it's easy, when we're comfortable, and our mind is able to stay focused, and it feels really good, that's kind of easy. And then we can get complacent. Yeah. We don't have to kind of try so hard or work so hard or learn so much. So don't think that if you're struggling and having difficulties in your meditation, that is somehow a bad thing and get upset about that. Instead, just see it as a challenge to learn and grow, become more mature in your practice. Yeah, so I think that's as much as I had to share with you today. Any last questions before we finish? So do you have regular meditation sessions in the center?
Yes, at the moment we have them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I'm also hoping in the new year to start something up on a Saturday morning, like this time or a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And/or one evening a week to give people who work the opportunity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with how we go. We're a very small community, so kind of trying to reach out to the wider community. There are young people around, and it's a very mixed community, very diverse.
Do you have teachers coming to teach sometimes?
Yes, we have visiting teachers. We don't have a resident teacher. We haven't actually had anybody do dedicated meditation teaching this year, which is why I was interested in asking you to come. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess things are still trying to get back to some kind of normalcy after COVID. That really caused a lot of disruption to a lot of Buddhist, well, I think a lot of organizations, but including centers and churches and so on. So, yeah.
Yeah, this centre's had some ups and downs as well, so COVID didn't help that either.
Okay, so I wish all of you the best in your practice of meditation. I hope you've learned something in these sessions that will be helpful for you and, help your practice to develop.